Thank you to our sponsors. In Houston's culinary world, she's known as the Truffle Lady. A French native and Texan by choice, Diane Roederer is the visionary behind DR Delicacy, the undisputed leader in luxury ingredients. From the world's finest truffles and caviar to the most exquisite mushrooms, she's bringing rare, high-end delicacies to top chefs, restaurants, and discerning food lovers. But Diane's passion doesn't stop at sourcing the best. It extends to celebrating them. For 11 years, the Truffle Masters has been the must-attend event for gastronomes and industry leaders alike. The city's finest chefs compete with masterfully crafted truffle-infused dishes, delivering an unforgettable night of indulgence, all while supporting a great cause. Proceeds benefit Southern Smoke. Visit drdelicacy.com to secure your spot at the Truffle Masters 2025. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Good Taste for the Soul. I'm Tangi Patton. One of the reasons we started Good Taste some 17, 18 years ago was that we wanted to pursue our passion of learning about wine and eating great food. When you love what you do, it's not work, right? Well, my guests today are not only blessed with a wonderful friendship, but they also work together, pursuing their shared passion of gardening. If gardening is something you're considering, or maybe you're already out in the garden every day, these ladies can certainly answer your questions. And I think you'll be inspired by their beautiful gardens. Gardening's become a passion of mine too. And so I'm very excited to welcome the Garden Girls. Welcome, Jen and Nicole. We're missing the third garden girl.
We are, but thank you for having us.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you all. You all have such, for those of us who like to garden, I would think this is like a dream business. You know, when you love what you do, it's really not work.
So true.
Yes, that's so true. This week we were gardening our little hands and feet off, and we were just still coming back to our own gardens and digging in the soil and harvesting, and it's just such a blessing.
So let's tell everyone how you guys individually, because it didn't come as a collective. All of a sudden, we like gardening. You each kind of have a history in your life with a passion for gardening, right?
Yes, well, I grew up in Napa Valley, California, and I've only been in Houston for 15 years. But growing up in Calistoga, my father had a big garden in our backyard. And I wasn't really an active participant in the garden, but I liked to sit and watch him garden on an overturned bucket, and I would eat whatever he was harvesting fresh. So
Oh,
that
how
to me
fun.
was like this special core memory of growing up. And when I became an adult and we moved to Houston, I really wanted that for my kids and for myself. And to be honest, I really wanted the look of a garden. I just wasn't so sure if I could take care of it.
That's all changed now.
We'll
Nicole,
come to that.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And so if Jill was here, she is our native Houstonian. So I will put that in. And she's a
Yes.
big beekeeper, and there's not a plant she wouldn't take home and try to baby. She is our like plant lover. Okay, so I'm Nicole Shaw, and I am originally from West Virginia. I moved to Houston in 2001, and I grew up gardening. Everyone in my neighborhood gardened. My aunt and uncle garden, my grandparents garden, and I think it's so interesting because I still have a lot of family in West Virginia. When we go back, no one's gardening anymore, hardly. I mean, my family still
really?
is, but like where I grew up, the neighborhood I grew up in, every single person had a backyard garden. Now in that neighborhood, no one does. So, kind of a dream of mine is to really bring gardening back as a norm. But I started gardening more seriously because when we first moved to Houston, I just had like a balcony garden with herbs and pods, and then we moved to a house, and I had a little boy who was very active and loved being outside, but he also had a number of food allergies. And so he could eat pretty much anything that we grew at home, he could eat. So
Interesting.
I kind of became motivated to garden for that reason. And I also wanted him the experience of gardening because that's what I did growing up. And so, you know, Houston's very big and I grew up sort of rural, but I was like, this is a connection he could have that we both did as kids. So that really motivated me to garden in Houston.
Well, that's so interesting about your son. My son was born with some sort of allergy, and he's in his late 30s now. And I can remember having to drive. There was the original Whole Foods in Austin,
Uh-huh.
and I would make the trek to Austin and buy organic produce, buy, unsprouted bread, I believe it was called back
Yes.
then. It
Yeah,
was always
yeah.
in the Ezekiel. I remember the brand.
Yes.
And that was, it truly made a difference. Aren't you guys so excited about the conversation being had now about our food supply?
100%.
Yes.
Yes. And it makes such a difference, not only just in the quality is so much better when you grow it, and the taste is so much
Mhm.
better.
I can't get over the taste. I guess we've gotten used to, buying grocers, so many. I've seen, I'm sure you guys, when you've gone to California, you see the giant semis coming back with
Yep.
loads of green tomatoes and and all
Mhm.
everything. Growing and pulling the tomato, as an example, out of your garden, there is nothing like it when it comes to the flavor. There's a spiritual connection too, we can talk about in a minute, but there is nothing like the flavor of the produce from a homegrown garden that hadn't been transported thousands of miles.
And wrapped in plastic and who knows
Yes.
what other materials. The other night I was watching TV and um, there was a recall on broccoli florets in Dallas and actually also in Houston. And it was one brand. I think they were sold at Walmart, maybe a couple other retailers. And the risk of it said that the risk was so high of contamination that there was a risk of death from broccoli florets.
Oh, that's
And right after I saw that, a client texted me a photo of her husband holding this huge broccoli that he had just cut from his garden. And I thought, how timely is
yeah.
this? Like,
Yeah.
you can grow your own, it's going to taste better. But also, when there's recalls or when there's things that happen like that, you know exactly where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
3 steps from your door.
Yeah.
No, and those things I don't know if they're just finding these problems in the produce supply more often because of technology and they've been there all along, or if we're just starting to see them more frequently. I don't know, but that's another good reason to
Totally.
do your own gardening.
Yeah. And
So,
you also learn about seasonality. So you can start to see like what
yes,
really should I be eating when I do have to buy from the grocery store. Now you understand what's in season and
Mhm.
what's going to be better tasting at the grocery store. So it's
absolutely. We did an interview here a couple of weeks ago with Lydia Bastianich. She's the PBS Italian TV chef that's so
oh,
wonderful. And that's one of her big topic items that she's religious about is buy seasonally, eat seasonally. It's better for the
Yes,
planet. It's better for everyone.
yes.
It's good
totally.
all the way around. Well, let's talk a little bit about, so the podcast is called Good Taste for the Soul, and I can think of nothing more rewarding for your soul than gardening. What is that? What does gardening, aside from your business side of the gardening, what does it do for you when you garden at home?
It's almost like thinking about being at a spa to me. Like, if you think about something really euphoric and relaxing, that to me is what gardening has become. And it wasn't always that way because until we learned to garden the right way, it was a series of frustrations, I would say. But
Yeah.
we like to say that we can teach anyone to garden, and we will. Once you achieve that sort of happy balance with your garden, it becomes like this meditative place where you experience this soulful connection between like earth and yourself. And to me, I think of it as my
And
church
God,
because
I
when
don't
I'm
know
out
about you
here in
guys, but
God,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, you
100%.
experience more miracles in your garden and you see those things on a daily, even sometimes an hourly basis. I mean, I'll be
yeah,
out here at sunset, and that's my favorite time is to come out when the sun's setting, everyone's home from school. It's just me and the dogs out here, and the butterflies are flying around. There's bees everywhere. There's a hummingbird, flying
yes,
overhead. And it just feels quiet and calm and peaceful in the middle of a city. And
Yeah.
that's what I
yeah,
love. It's like the special oasis.
it's
100%.
very
Yeah. I really
grounding.
I
Yeah.
really started gardening for the production, but what I've discovered, what so many of our clients have discovered, it's not the production that brings you back again and again, day out, day in. It's really that connection to Mother Nature, the connection that you're getting to yourself. Um, it's like prayer doesn't have to be sitting at the side of your bed going like this. You can be
Right.
active in your garden and praying, and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Mhm.
Digging your hands in the soil, like nothing is better than like getting
Yes.
your hands dirty. um,
Yes.
it's just it's just like
It's
a
the, I don't know
vacation.
about you guys, but I find sitting in the garden and looking and observing, there's this feeling overwhelming sometimes of
Mhm.
gratefulness.
100%.
That's the thing that we're also preaching a lot more of now is purpose over perfection.
Mhm.
Because for a long time as gardeners, we wanted our gardens to look a certain way. And then Mother Nature would come in with a hurricane or a snowstorm or something
Snow.
else. So it feels like a journey, but also we're telling our gardeners and ourselves every day, you have to
Yeah.
appreciate your garden in that exact moment because it will never look the same, but be grateful and happy and thankful for what you have today, right
Yeah.
now.
Now, I love that. I shared with you guys earlier, I had a little bout with grubworms last season, and there were many frustrating days, but there's so much more to be grateful for than just to get mad at the pests.
Yes.
There's a good all around. So you guys literally go into folks' homes and consult with them and help them start a garden if they've never had one, maybe design a garden or learn how to do a garden. What's the most common mistake that you see gardeners make?
There's probably two, and that is number one, they're planting it in the wrong place. Usually, if you're going to start a garden, a vegetable garden in particular, you're going to need 6 to 8 hours of sun, full sun per day. And the second is planting things that aren't in season. So we would all love to have like a New England garden full of hydrangeas and peonies, but that just doesn't work for our Houston climate. And so once you figure out what you should be planting in that particular month, and also where location wise the garden should be planted, those are two game changers.
Well, other important components is good soil. That's why we love raised beds. It's also for comfort, but really, when I first started gardening in Houston, I tried in ground because that's what my parents had done. We lived near the Ohio River, so we had this gorgeous sandy loam
Mm,
soil, and we don't have that in Houston. We have clay soil. So
yeah,
I've been successful growing okra in the clay soil, but that's about it. So
really?
really, yeah, really good soil. So a raised bed where you can start fresh. I mean, this is an investment, and you're gonna,
Yeah.
take time to build out your garden. So you might as well start with the best soil.
Yeah, it is. And living in Texas, so you guys are in Houston, you deal with the crazy hot and
Yeah.
humidity on steroids in
Yep.
the summer, and up until this season pretty much mild winter. And even but as you move through Texas, I can speak for the hill country, uh, incredibly hot, often humid in the summer especially, but a lot of wind and
Mhm.
whatnot. So that with the heat, those days are pretty challenging. And then I guess as we get in, Dallas and north, they have the truly four seasons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what would we be just in general? So, this time of year, I would imagine a lot of people already have started seeds, right? What should we be thinking about as and keeping in mind you guys are in Houston, so you're a little warmer than as we move further north in the state. But what should we be thinking about right now?
So this is funny because most of the country is still locked down with cold,
Yeah,
rain, sleet, right? We're already
yeah,
talking about tomatoes. We are
Yeah.
yeah.
putting tomatoes in the ground right now. In
Seeds or
fact,
seedlings?
no, transplants, and
Transplants.
the bigger the better, because in
Wow.
Houston, we are up against the race for summer. So we want those tomatoes to actually mature before the heat of summer comes, and then they get, fungal diseases, and the birds go crazy and they split because it's too hot. So we really want February is all about tomatoes, and we're going to think about Valentine's Day as our love letter to tomatoes. That's when we typically plant, assuming
Okay.
there's no more threat of frost.
You got a little
Um,
heart.
oh, that's cute. But we're also thinking about things like pole beans and cucumbers and what are some other
So February
spring?
is really cool because it's your last time to like get your lettuce in if you want one more lettuce harvest. But it's also your time to really start thinking about spring gardening, which is like your tomatoes, and like come March we'll probably start seeing peppers to put in. And you could start these by seed too at the moment.
Well, that's talking
We
about
like
the seeds because I've done it both ways. I've done the little germination things. You've got the squares and all that, and that was really a lot of fun. Um, and seedlings. I think for me personally, and granted, I'm pretty novice on this stuff. The seedlings to me are the little plant. What do you call them officially? I call them
Transplant.
Transplants, seedling, yeah,
transplants. Okay, transplants. To me, those are a great way to start,
Mhm.
100%.
because
Yep.
somebody's done a lot of the hard work for
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's actually a good analogy for garden girls because when people think about starting a garden, it can feel very overwhelming. And so, what we
Mhm.
like to do is we offer a turnkey service. So, we're like the fairy godmothers of gardening. We do the design, we choose the location, the best location on a client's property. And then, when it's time to install the garden, we actually do complete installation, including drip irrigation. We do a gravel base with beautiful pathways, and we include trellising. So, starting with transplants is like starting with garden girls.
Yeah.
Because it's
Okay.
better, it's almost a better, safer start, and it's a better bang for your buck.
Yeah,
You
and
know
you
you're
see
not going
some results
backwards.
immediately,
Yeah.
right? It's
I
not like
love
you're waiting for that little seed to come out of the ground, which is very cool, I must say. But
I
it's
Maybe
love
both.
nice.
I love
Yeah,
our
maybe both.
installs. I love our
Maybe both.
installs because they happen in like 1 to 2 days. So like, well, I just like redecorated my dining room. It literally took like 2 months, because like the curtains come in, the wallpaper come in. How we do our gardens is we plan everything ahead of
Wait.
time, and on install day, our crew is there, and by the end of the evening or the next evening, you are going to walk out and you're going to have a beautiful garden with trellises and lighting if you want, fountains, whatever. But it's just so
It
amazing
sounds
to
like
see.
a dream come true.
It
It
is a
really
dream
does.
come true.
It really does. Oh, so I'm curious on some of the videos you took this morning, and I was amazed at how much the plethora, the bounty that you have in these raised beds, and how beautiful they are. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute, how you keep them looking so good. But
Mhm.
I'm curious about the spacing, because I always look at the seed packets and whatnot, and but your garden, it looked like things are pretty close together. What do you have a certain rule of thumb of how close to plant?
Yes, that's a good point. Actually, we plant very intensively, and that's by design. So there's two reasons why. Number one, when you plant intensively, you can grow more in a small space, but you
Hmm.
also get rid of the possibility of weeds because the sunlight is hitting plants instead of bare soil. And when it hits bare soil, that's when you get your weeds to grow. So, by planting intensively, you can not only grow more in a smaller space, and we take advantage of taller plants. We can plant smaller things like radish or even carrot or lettuce or arugula underneath your taller plants. And that right there doubles the planting space.
So you're using the plants as a shade, basically,
Yep,
for certain things,
Yeah. It's really
absolutely.
which
cool in the
I
summer
had
for
not
like
thought of.
peppers and arugula. Your peppers will be kind of tall in the summer and
Yeah,
have leaves, and you can kind of do some arugula seeds under. It's
And it's
and it's
also
probably
really
cooler
beautiful.
down there too.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So it's interesting over the years that we've been doing this now, we have like a favorite way of planting so that
Mhm.
we keep our taller plants either in the center or towards the back of the beds, and then we kind of stagger the height. We play with the space underneath and around the beds, around the borders. We like to do herbs and flowers, and then sometimes we'll put in a wow factor, like we'll put in a big kale or a big Swiss chard in the corners, just because it looks so beautiful and inviting.
Yeah,
So
no,
we
you're
really have fun with the design.
well, it shows, because the video, and we'll show it as we're talking, is it's truly stunning. And I'm curious how in the world these gorgeous gardens we're seeing survived that snow. You guys had several inches of snow, not to mention freezing.
Yes, we sure did. Well, we started educating our clients on what to do weeks before. When we started to hear that there was going to be a big snow, we were like, okay, we need a blog out. Let's do a how-to video on how to protect. And basically, what we did was we used PVC pipe, but a more flexible version. It was very
Hmm.
quick and easy, but we did basically cold frames in every single bed, and then we covered them with frost cloth, secured it to each bed. But some of the beds we actually left uncovered, and that was by design because some things like Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, carrots, even your lettuces, those actually thrive with a cold snap. So if you're
Really? Even snow?
Yes.
even with the snow.
Like
So
mine-
if
I
you're
would have
planting
never known.
for the
Yeah.
season,
100%.
your gardens will do just fine.
Yeah. I think
Wow.
the only thing I lost was basil, which it wasn't still really in
Yeah.
season. So that, of course, but my thyme was just in a pot. I didn't cover it. The thyme is like gorgeous.
That's the only thing that lived in mine was the thyme, the rosemary, oregano.
Yes,
Did
the
Yeah.
leave it.
rosemary, the herbs,
Yeah.
those woody herbs, they do great no
Yeah.
matter what.
Mm-hmm.
They did good. So on the opposite side of that, because hot summers are something we know all too well, and a lot of times it starts all too early. What do you do to protect for that? I used one season. I had the little shed, I guess, built over the garden, and used a green screen of some sort, and that was helpful. But I'm curious what you guys do because you've got a lot of beds.
Normally we plant for the season, so we plant things that can take the heat. So that's going to be in the hot.
Okay.
It's going to be like hot peppers, eggplant, okra, zinnias. So we tend to convert our gardens to more flower gardens in the summer, also because Houstonians travel so much in the summer because we want to get out of the heat. So you can really, if you do cut flowers, throw the seeds in, leave, and then you'll have
Yeah.
beautiful zinnias when you get home.
So
And then,
eggplant and cucumbers do good in that kind of intense heat.
yes, well, it's Armenian cucumbers, not like the
Armenian.
yes.
Okay, that's good to know because I struggle in the summer with what to plant when it's 95 degrees, 98
But
degrees.
I do, and also black eyed peas do great. Southern
Really?
peas do great in the heat. But I do love your cloth idea, the shade cloth, and we will do that because we want to get tomatoes in again for the fall, like in
Yeah.
August, and it's still so intense. So we will use a shade cloth over the tomatoes for about the first month to help just cut the sun a little bit until they can get established.
Yeah. I tomatoes seem to do well. We're zone 8, so
Okay.
as long as they're somewhat protected, I had tomatoes through December, so
Oh,
they.
Yeah.
I know that was
Great.
fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I also wanted to ask you guys about organic. So I'm a big proponent of growing organic, and honestly, Nicole, for a lot of the reasons you mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
because I'd had a similar experience with my son. But what do you advise people? What are some of the products you like? I would assume you advise organic, but if not, let me know.
Yeah. No, we
love organic, and we always say shop locally. So when you're buying things that are going to go into your garden, really think end result. They're actually going to go into your body. And so
Mm-hmm.
big box stores are great for a number of reasons, but we typically choose our plants and our flowers and our herbs from local nurseries. And that's because you can find who grew them. Usually it's an organic grower that's local. So we
Yeah.
definitely prefer that. And we start organically with our soil. Our soil is also sourced locally. And so we advise clients around the country too, don't buy a bag that says it's going to be fantastic and results driven. You actually want soil that's local, that's a sandy loam vegetable blend soil, because that's going to mimic the organic growing method. It's going to be more close to nature than what a bagged product can offer, if that makes sense.
No,
And then
it makes
simple
100%.
fertilizers and amendments. We love Microlife. We use those
Microlife.
Microlife. There's a pellet form, which actually increases beneficial microbes in the soil. So that soil health is really, if you're starting anywhere, we can't say it enough how important good quality soil is.
Yeah.
But you're going to need to amend also with Microlife.
And it's a great Houston company, Microlife.
Yes.
Ah.
So yeah, I know. So you're supporting.
And you can't overdo it. That's
Yeah.
the other thing, is a lot of times new gardeners are afraid to use amendments because they're
Mhm.
worried that they're going to kill their plants. Microlife, you would never do that. You really and truly.
Is that something you can get on Amazon, or do you know?
Yeah, they
It
do
is
have that.
available. So,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, good. We just gave it. I don't know them, but
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, they're great.
Okay, I'm glad to know about that. And what about pests? Because that can get out of control very quickly. Is there something you like to use that's natural that won't is not toxic to the insects, our bodies, that kind of thing?
So the best pest defense is a good offense, and that really starts with us, like going out into your garden every single day. We check our leaves front and back, as much as possible. And we even just bought magnifying glasses. We're kind of nerdy like
Really?
that because we want to get in there and see, are these aphids or are these good baby, ladybugs that pests are all over. So
Right.
we don't want to eradicate pests. We want to learn how to live with them, but maybe not have caterpillars munching on everything all the time. So we need to find like good symbiotic relationship, but usually we're not using products for pests. We're starting with our own eyes. And if we find something that we don't want on our leaves, we manually remove it and that's it. Or
You don't
if
use
it's
neem
really
oil
bad,
or any of that? Soap suds or?
occasionally,
Yeah.
occasionally we will if we have a big problem with aphids, but the first thing we like to do is spray it down, like Nicole said,
With
or
the hose, like what?
yep,
To
just
try to get
water?
the
Yep.
with water.
just get those aphids right off those leaves.
Yeah.
If it's a really big problem, just take the leaf off, throw the leaf away, or get the
Really?
caterpillar off. Especially with tomatoes. The funniest thing is with tomatoes is, have you ever seen a hornworm? They're these green, thick worms, and they're very
Yes.
hard to find.
They
But if
look
you
like caterpillars that have, you do. I will sit at I have a raised bed. So I'll sit out there when the tomatoes are going and just literally, I can spend an hour studying, looking for those things. And when I find them, I get rid of them. They're,
get rid of
ugh,
Yeah, they're gross.
But they have this like maniacal smile on their face too, with these little horns. And they will, if you find that your tomato plants suddenly one day you only have stems and they look like
Yeah.
sticks and all the leaves are gone, you
Yeah.
have a hornworm and you just
Yeah.
haven't found it. So that's
Yep.
what you need to do. Or come out in the evening with a flashlight because they glow.
oh, I
Oh,
didn't know
I didn't
that.
They
I
glow.
didn't know that either.
Yeah. So look everywhere for your hornworm and get rid of it.
Yeah. And really, if
I'm
you
glad
plant
to know that.
seasonally-
Is
if you
that the
plant
best way to
seasonally-
get rid of it? Sometimes I throw it over the fence. Is it best just to stomp it?
That's
Put it
fine. You
into
can
its
throw it over
little-
the fence or
fence,
yeah,
yeah.
because a bird's
get
gonna
rid of
come and
it.
eat it.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
So that's it. So you're not really into the neem or the soap suds or any of that.
I mean, occasionally, if it's a problem that's not going away, I also
Yeah.
will just be okay with removing a plant to save the rest. So if I have like a pepper plant that's filled with aphids, sometimes I'll sacrifice that one plant and remove it from my garden to kind of save the
Okay.
rest.
Wow.
You know what else is interesting is milkweed attracts aphids. It's
Yeah.
a trap crop.
It is.
So if you have
Really?
milkweed and you're growing it for the monarchs, that's just fine. But if you look at the leaves and they're covered in aphids, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because the aphids are going to want to be there instead of on your other plants. So sometimes you can even
Ah.
plant strategically. Like we often plant marigold next to our tomatoes because marigold is also a trap crop. And you can plant things like chives next to your carrots because that will deter carrot flies. So there's all these strategic
Yeah.
companion plants that you can use that will help with pests as well.
Well, that's good to know. So marigolds are a big one you go to. What about if you're doing green beans or black-eyed peas like you talked about? Is there a need to have something else kind of scattered in there?
What do we do for those? I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't know that
Yeah,
we
I
do
don't think
anything
so.
particular for
Not
those.
really, but I've read of marigolds being good before. I've never done it.
Another
But I'm
great
encouraged after seeing what you guys have done because I'm thinking now I've been too careful about space and that it's okay to fill and make
Fill
it
it
more
up.
plentiful.
It's so much better for the plant, the root systems. If they're all kind of connected together, it's going to retain the moisture a lot better instead of running off. So like
Okay.
a really intensively planted garden is it's gonna help all the other plants around it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that. Now, you saw the pictures I sent you. I have 2 raised beds, and I have to tell you, I haven't said anything to my husband yet, but after seeing your beds, I am so inspired to add more. But
Oh, good.
I really am. I cannot imagine how beautiful to walk out in your backyard is. So, you guys are going to help me kind of design my poor little vacant dirt beds right now. And
Yep.
then we're going to check back in throughout the season. And you can tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I did right, if anything. And we'll
no
kind of follow
mistake.
the
It's
progress.
all an experiment.
Yeah.
So that's
True.
the first lesson.
True, it is. Now, if someone is hearing this and interested in tapping into your expertise and your company, tell us about Garden Girls and how we find you.
Well, you can find us on Instagram. First of all, we're at Garden Girls TX. We have tons of tips and tricks. We're always posting seasonal, what to plant this month and all kinds of great things that everyone should know about.
We'll start to get into a lot of tomato education soon on Instagram.
Yes.
So,
And then we also
Yay.
have a website, which is www.gardengirlstx.com.
GardenGirlsTX.com. Well, I love the concept, and I loved finding out about your company. I can't think of anything more fun than to have a business with friends you truly enjoy being around, and then to get to do it in the beautiful outdoors and create even more beauty.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
That's good for the soul all the way around, right?
It's good for the soul.
It truly is. Okay, well, I look forward to getting your advice on kind of a roadmap for mine, and I'll have my assignment. I'll get to it, and then we'll check back in with you guys in a few weeks and get a little update and an evaluation.
Great.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Tangie. We're excited to
Thank
work
you, guys.
with you.
So the garden girls you just met are sending me an outline to use and get my garden up and going for the spring. I'm really excited about this. Right now, I'm concerned about grub worms. I had a huge problem with grub worms last season, so much so that I lost a lot of lettuce. It really affected the tomatoes. I couldn't get green beans to do anything. So I'm a little concerned about the grub worms. I've already reached out to a local source here who says he can help. So hopefully I'll get those under control before I get things going. We will let you know when we check back in with the garden girls to get a report on my garden. I'm going to send them pictures and video, and they'll tell me what's going well and what's going right. Hopefully it will help you with your garden too. I don't know about you, but I think there is nothing like gardening. Have a great day, everyone. Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.